Test, test. Everything seems to be working fine. Let's just get started right away. Correct Blender window, which is not even open. So let me just open that first. So I'm thinking this stream I'll texture some stuff. Change the textures of the walls, I think would be good. Okay. There we go. Okay, and the reference window is open. Hey Berserk. Hey, Surcouf Le Breton. Is that how you pronounce it? I hope I pronounce it right. Surcouf? I have no idea. But yeah, so I've been watching some of these walls here, and it seems like most of them are actually tiles rather than just concrete. So that's something I'm gonna have to change. So let's just do that right away. So I'm gonna pick one of these walls. Perfect. I don't believe you, but thank you. Yeah, we want to swap out this concrete for a tile texture. And I downloaded these just before the stream. Just something that looks similar. So this is actually a floor tile, I think, but it looks very similar to the one in the game. So it should work fine. Then let's move this up here. I'm gonna rename this material concrete tiles. And then we're gonna preview. And it's not gonna work because it's using the UV projection right now. So it's also something we have to change. Change that to object here. And then all of these also need to have the projection changed to box. There is a way to do this quickly. And I thought I'd forgotten about it, but apparently I did not. So what you do is you go into one of them, hold down the Alt key and just pick the option and all of them will change. So it's less work that way. And we have a look here. Looks way too small. So I'm just going to change the scale here to something like 0.6 perhaps. And also make this window a bit smaller like that. Let's look at it from a distance as if I want to render out this stuff here. I'm going to mix in the AO channel here. I think that will make it look a little bit nicer. I keep mistyping. Mix color. And then I'll put that down there, factor to 1, and that to multiply. And then if I zoom in and I mute this node, you can see there's a slight difference. I'm not sure if it shows up on stream, but there's like a very slight darkening happening between the tiles. So on, off, on, off. It's barely noticeable. So maybe I could put a color ramp here. This is only the AO now, and I could increase the blackness a little bit. So let's do it again, just mute and then turn it on again. It's a bit more noticeable now. And I think for the map that will look better if it's a little bit more pronounced. Maybe even something like that. What I don't like though is at the bottom here, I don't want it to be like a half brick down there, whatever you'd call it. So I'm gonna put a an object down there, something like a, I don't know, let's put a monkey head there, just because it's different. I'm gonna reduce the size of it to something like that. Apply all the scale and stuff, and I'm gonna put it over here somewhere, just in the dark area. And the reason is I'm gonna use that to control another mask. So here I'm gonna put a gradient, a texture. It's gonna be linear, and that could also be set to object. Let's preview this for now. So right now the gradient's coming from the wrong side, so I have to rotate it, and I think it's on the X, maybe the Y. Let's try that. 90 degrees. So that's what I want to do, but the gradient, it is too gradient of a gradient. It needs to be harder. So I'm going to put a color ramp here. I'm also going to get the factor instead of the color, not that it matters. And I'm going to set this to constant instead, which gives me this very harsh line instead of that the other line. And then here I could set the object, the texture coordinate object, to be that monkey head. Now if I lower or like lift up the monkey head, you see that mask comes with it. So with this I can easily control where that mask is. I don't need to go in here and mess with any settings anymore. But so this is just a mask. So I need another mix color. I'm gonna set this to mix. And this should be the other way around, right? So this should go in here. So there are the bricks. And at the bottom, there should be, if we look at the reference, there's like a dark, it's a lot of English words, I don't know, like a, you call that? Man, I struggle to think of the word. It's, whatever, you know what I mean. It's like the border of the wall at the bottom. I usually call it skirt whenever I do this, but I don't think that's the right word. Then we change this to like a black color and lift this up. So it's not doing it properly now. Maybe if I set it to darken. Oh, I forgot to plug in the mask. That's why that doesn't work. There we go. And then maybe switch that back, see if that works. Change that to darker color so it's easier to see. Maybe I should just do that. I mean, that works too. So I don't understand why this happens. I think it's maybe because I want to have to flip this ramp, perhaps. And then move the monkey head a little bit. Move it down to here. And then it needs to be mix. It can't be multiply or darken because then it preserves the other texture. I don't want that. I want it to be replaced. I could use another texture for this, but I think because it's such a small detail, I think it's fine to just leave it at a solid color. Like that. Okay. The only downside of this is you can't really see it here, but it's like whatever, right? I hope the music is not too loud. I'll lower it slightly. And then I need to remember this monkey head. I need to turn off the rendering of that. I don't want that to show up whenever I render. I just want it to be a controller for that the bottom texture. So I think here, I'm trying to figure out where I am on the map here, where I'm looking. Okay, so I'm looking at this part of the map right now. And there should be a pavement section there that I haven't placed, and I think I probably didn't place it because the edge or the border of the tunnels is here. So maybe if I go into this view mode instead, zoom out a bit. I don't care about the normals of the reference. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, I guess. Move that into place. And it's very different up here compared to what it looks like down here in terms of the bevel here. But I'm not going to care about that since I'll cut the map off here anyway. So what I could do is use another boolean. I'll probably use this same object here. Just pull this all the way up like that, and maybe also extrude it out like this just to cut it at the edge. Right? So now I gotta think about, do I want to have these garage ports? It would be a nice detail. Why not? Let's do it. I'll lower the music a little bit more. It's hard for me to concentrate. So here's a question. How tall is an average carport? A door is about 2.2. Average carport height meters. So it's typically around 2.3 to 2.5 apparently. So let's check the measurement here, apply the rotation. We can say 2.3 in our case. So something like this. I'm going to extrude that a little bit. This is going to it's going to be a boolean. I'm gonna remove these edges here. I don't need them, and they'll probably cause some Z fighting if I don't. So let's remove those. And I guess what I can see here in the top-down view is the actual carport top, or maybe it's this alarm thing at the top I'm seeing. And then there's also this, I don't know what this is, blockade thing for the cars. I'm just gonna place it here for now as a temporary item. Maybe I'll put an empty there instead. And then I can use that to mirror that across. Then I'll use that to cut a hole in the wall. Like that. Let's preview that. That should look pretty weird right now because I haven't any proper textures there. I do not want the holes to be black though. So what I need to do is I need to give these booleans the concrete tile texture. I think will solve that. That'll just make it so that it applies the same material to the holes. And that's fine because that gives this like edge a nice texture. And then I'll just use the inside of these booleans. And using hard ops, I just open the menu up and hold control on curve extract, and that makes that a new like ripped face from the selection. Need to remember though to move this to another collection, because by default it's still in the cutters, and the cutters is turned off from rendering. So if I don't do that, it won't show up in the render. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up. So this is going to become the actual door. So I'm gonna apply scale, inset slightly, like, I don't know, that much, probably enough. I'll remove this bottom face and pull this down. And then I'll move this forward just slightly so it doesn't cause Z-fighting with the inner wall. And then you select these outer rim thingies and then pull it out a bit, not all the way, because it's like a little nice detail to see part of the wall going in there. Okay, so that's it. That's done. Let's just apply some other materials to this. So I can't remember, do I have like a metal? Let's see, gray metal. I guess that works. I don't think that I have a corrugated metal though on this in this scene, so I'm gonna have to make that material. Let's just see, textures.com, metal, corrugated metal. Yeah, okay, I have one, so I'll just do this. Metal. That's a 2K texture though, so I'm gonna search for one and just download a lower resolution of that. Corrugated metal. Maybe even just a regular photo, because it's going to be such a small detail. And I found one that looks pretty good, I think. I'm just saving it in my folder so I don't have to do this again. Okay. Then back up one step, and then there it is. Then we're going to assign that to this face. Set that to be RGB and put that into the base color. And then I need to resize this a bit. Also, it can be set to object, and I'm gonna remember to set the projection to box. And because of that, I also need to apply rotation first, and then rotate this 90 degrees on the X, I guess, like that. Now we could put a bump down here and maybe a color ramp. So we're just gonna feed the same texture in there. I'm just gonna check. Do that, and then into bump, and then into normal. See what that looks like. Looks okay. So this sign here would be nice to have. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Shoebox. Shoebox is a software that you can use to grab textures from all sorts of images, and it'll autocorrect the angle of it so it becomes straight. Let me see, can I do a display capture here really quick? Hold on, I'll just import the image first. Go to screenshots. I basically have two options. I either remake the sign in Photoshop or I just reuse this screenshot again, and I think the screenshot is probably the easier thing. Very hard to find the screenshot in the folder. Okay, I think I found it. Into shoebox. Let's do this first. Display capture. There you go. So I just drag the picture into where it says texture ripper here. That opens up the image here. And then I can select the sign like this. There you go. Maybe I should also do the same on these alarm signs. Like that. And I accidentally closed it. Let's just do it again quickly. And I think if I hold down Alt, or maybe it's Control. Should give me a like zoomed in view, but I can't remember. Accidentally clicking some other stuff there. Let's just redo it again. It's a very old software. Hasn't been any updates for this for a long time. It is still very good. Something like that. And then save texture, and then I'll just save it wherever. Again. And I'm gonna save this as sure. Sign ground zero. Then you see import as plain. Tarkov. There it is. Put an edge there and one here, and then cut this out like so. And same thing here, I can just delete these faces. Cool. In the game it's actually much bigger, it's like this big. Get some thickness there. Let's give this some thickness as well. And then selecting all these faces around it. Extrude along normals. And then extrude that to create the frame. Selecting that face and then Control I to invert. And then this will be, I don't know, that metal texture I was using before. Show the origins in the center. Let's just snap it to the other side, I guess. Same thing here though, a lot bigger, so probably something like this. Snap again. Let's do it again. We just use this as a mirror, I guess. But I want to flip the UV there, but maybe that doesn't work since... There we go. What do you think? Is this a good detail to have on the map? Don't want to have a color ramp there. Increase the brightness a bit. Okay, I think the garage doors, they do look a little bit too white, so I'm gonna lower that value a bit to like 0.4 maybe. That's too dark. 0.8. It's more like it. And because it's basically black and white, we can put a color ramp there as well and just try and get some more of those dark colors coming out. Okay. Now what? Now what? Let's look at the pillars for a second. Okay. I don't think I need to change the pillars. I could make this like road stop thing. I'm just looking at this reference screenshot now. He's trying to get it to look somewhat similar. So this is the front. How tall is it? A little bit taller, I think. is you have to, let's just put a temporary car in here. Let's put that here, I guess. So you drive up to it, right? You'd be coming from the inside in this case. This, I think it's a bit of a bad picture. This stop is coming from the thing in front, I think. Oh, it's not. And this kind of doesn't make sense. Because you need to interact with the screen here to do something, right? Let's just do something like this, it's probably fine. Using box cutter, I'm going to change that to a line there. And also let's change here to view. And I'm just going to cut through something like, just trying to get a similar angle. I'm more overthinking this, but like this maybe. Similar. Pressing enter, that makes that cut. I'm gonna apply that right away. And I just give that a very small bevel. And I could do the same thing to create that top. Top edge there, something like this, right? Let's multiply that, straighten this, and maybe you snap it like this so it's a bit easier to tidy up. Don't really know what the front of this thing looks like. I'll just do something like this, I guess. It's probably like a little thing there, and then there's a card reader thing or something. Maybe a screen. Let's join those together, and that is pretty much done. The only difference, I guess, is it looks like it's doing something like that at the bottom, right? I'm gonna worry about texturing this later at some point. For now, I'm just gonna place these. Seeing if I can spot another angle of those things. No. Guess not. It's fine though. Let's quickly be unwrapping this. Yeah. And delete all these cutters, don't need them anymore. I'll move the origin to the bottom there and flip that around like that. So here, I think what would make more sense is if this machine was like that, right? Because then your car could stop like so. You put the little card in and then it opens, right? But because it's like that, you can't really reach that thing with the window. Okay, well, we got some more detail there at least. And then there was like some, what's the word, like little pillars. So these things, they are all over the place and they're on my reference, I think. Let's just, let's enable this for a second. Let me just look at the reference. Yeah, so these green dots here are those little roadside blocks. And there's loads of them, so let's make that. let's use something like, I don't know, 12. 12 verts is probably fine. Hide this temporarily. And something like that. Should be good. And then this is not that tall. It's probably something like this, right? And then on top there, it's got like a... I don't know what that is. Like a little half circle thing. Half sphere. So let's just put a UV sphere in there. Set that to 12 segments. This can be half of that. Just gonna make that smaller. Something like this. Looks similar. Let's join these two. Then I could delete this top face here. Gonna merge those two sides. Now I'm just gonna press F. F, 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 F. Just to fill it in all the way around. Let's lift this up to about... I don't know, let's just do this, I guess. Something like that, I think. Sharpen. I'm using batch ops just to see how many materials I have so far. So here I have... I think this is the yellow material that I made for this pipe. I'm just going to clean things up a bit now. Let's cut this just to make sure. Yeah, it is. So this is yellow steel paint. And the 9 within parentheses here is just how many objects are used in that material. Here's another one. Something called material. Only one object is using it, but because when I do this, it's the staircase, so this is the railing, I assume. So let's name that metal railing. And then this one. It's all the pavement stuff, so I'm guessing if I cut this, yeah, so this is asphalt. It seems to be the same. So these are the stones on the sides, I guess. And I think this would look a little bit better if I lowered the brightness to like a 0.6 maybe. I'm doing this in the wrong material here. Hue saturation, put it right there. 0.6. Maybe even darker, 0.5. Even darker, 0.1. Let's look at it from this point of view. Let's try a 0.6 again. So that's brighter. This is kind of maybe even darker. 0.1, 0.01. What about minus? I can't decide if it looks better when it's bright like this or when it's darker. Let's 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 is probably a bit better. Anyway, this was the material pavement stones or something. And this is the grid. Grid. This is, what's this? This is the air conditioning. And this is also the grid. So I'm just gonna name this material aircon. And this thing here. I think this is the rust texture. No, this is another concrete, so what's the grid? Grid, and then this is rust. Okay, and then this one is a bit tedious, but the reason I'm doing this is just so it's easier later on to determine if I need more or less materials, and I can reuse ones that I've already made by searching rather than like clicking around among all these material 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, so what was this? This is the pipe material. Gas cylinder. Or, probably better to name it gas tank. And this one is the straps. Gas straps. So this one might be something I could replace for like the same material that I use for the railing for the stairs, for example. Because right now if I go down into, let's see here, to optimize tools and do a scene benchmark on all the objects in the scene, it'll take a second. $17 out of 21 and done. So you can see here the total memory usage, and then I can look at what materials are using up the most. So by far it is the tunnels, but we can ignore that one because that's not going to be rendered anyway, right? So the worst one that we have is the asphalt, and that is because, if I remember correctly, I'd never done sample that. Like, it's still a very high resolution texture, and if I'm just going to render this out and then composite it together in Photoshop later, it's fine. I don't need to change anything. But if this was part of a much bigger project with a lot more materials, then I would have to use a lower resolution probably. I mean, this is probably the texture you'll see most of in the whole image, right? So it could still be good to have a pretty high resolution, I think. But for something as generic as asphalt, it would probably not really be noticeable if I used a low resolution. So I'll probably do that. I'll fix that. And then the yellow steel paint on the tank over here, this is something that will have to be baked at some point. And I'll probably, I might even export this into Substance Painter and do the texturing there instead, just because I find that it's a bit easier and you can be a little bit more creative without feeling limited by how the nodes work and stuff in Blender, for example. But that's just me, that's how I feel about it. Anyway, let's go back to batch ops and keep naming these ones that I have named already. So this would be the garage port we made. Material garage port. It's actually not, I shouldn't name it that, I should name it corrugated metal. So that is what that is. And I think that might be it for now. These misc matte materials, they're all part of these like temporary objects I pull into the scene which will be deleted later anyway. So don't have to change that. Same with tire. Tunnels is that reference image. Car window is also part of that car. And this is part of the sign. I guess I could rename this one. Like material. I don't know, parking sign or something. Yeah, great. Now when that's done, I can go back to this thing here, and now I know I can use railing as a texture for this. And then I need another metal, like a bright metal for the inside, I suppose. Unless I could just make a mask somehow. So maybe a cavity mask might also work with ambient occlusion here. Let's preview this real quick. Let's do it in Eevee instead. Change this distance. Put a color ramp. Set this to constant. It doesn't seem accurate in Eevee. Let's change the threshold here. I only want it to be in here. I was hoping I could mask that a different way, but it doesn't seem to work like that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to make another material, I think. Yeah, I'll make another material. This will be metallic, and it's just going to be a brighter gray. Let's increase the roughness a bit on the railing. Make it a bit darker. Okay. So this is part of why doing that first step that I showed with the reference where I gave stuff different viewport colors. It makes spotting stuff like this a lot easier. And also, you can imagine, like, if you remember how much trash there was in the scene in the on the in-game reference. If I had kept all that and tried to find where these pillars are without any viewport color additions, you know, it would be extremely time consuming and I would probably make a lot of mistakes. So this that first preparation thing with the reference does a huge difference. I was pressing Alt-D like for each one of these, so they're all instanced. And I'm gonna probably sort these into their own collection later. And after every click, when I do Alt-T, a middle mouse click in this direction, so it locks onto that axis. Also makes it easier to like accurately place everything, so that they're all aligned. There's a few more down here. And if this was the case where there were like hundreds or like, yeah, a lot of these little pillars, I would do this in geometry nodes instead, using a curve and a instance on points node, and have it set to like a resampled curve, and then a set distance of like 2-3 meters. And that will make this process a lot quicker. And also when there's hundreds of little details like this, nobody's gonna notice if it's like slightly off from what it looks like in the game. The only thing that I think is important to get right is all big details. So like the buses here, for example, all the vehicles, they're probably the most important part of this. And I don't think I put them on my old map of this area. Like big containers, anything that's like noticeable for a new player, basically. Okay, I think I placed all of those now. I can't really see any more of those green pillars anywhere. Okay, so again, select linked object data. I'll put those in a new collection called Roadblock pillars or something. Okay. Let's unhide the payment stuff. Let's go into this camera view and let's preview. Let's see what this looks like. Hide the tunnel reference. Okay. So I think that did quite a lot actually, those little pillars. Right? It's a very small detail, but it does add quite a lot. Then let's see here if we go in. Let's look in this view. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good with the garage ports like that. So I'm probably gonna do the same thing everywhere. And you remember in the beginning how I wanted to keep things simple and not add too many details. It's already a bit too detailed, I think. But I mean, I'm keeping it simple still. I'm not keeping any of that trash stuff that was on the in-game map. And I'm like cutting a lot of other smaller details, so still okay. But yeah, so I'm gonna probably have to make a cut for doors over there. I forgot to take a screenshot of this elevator door again, so I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Let's just look at the reference for a sec. Took some screenshots of this because I don't think I have a proper one. Yeah. It might be overkill though. It's seen from such a distance away, but... Okay, let's make it. There's quite a few of these. So I'm basically just checking the size of it first with the footprint. Something like that. Something like that. Okay. Let's extrude this up a bit. And extrude it up again. Let's put this guy next to it so I have proper reference there. Let's do a limited dissolve here. And I guess here as well, I could remove those edges. Another cut here, right in the middle. Let's add a... Let's subdivide that, just so I have something to make a cut from. I think that this thing here is it's not an actual hole. It's probably a texture. Okay, here let's do this. Do I have auto merge turned on? Oh, they brought it back. Very good. Let's redo that. I think I could probably just leave it like that, right? Maybe even do that and that. Need to reduce the view distance here a bit. Clip start to 0.1. Let's join these two. So I wonder, there's probably an indentation on the other side. See. Yeah. So this is what hooks on to that side if you'd have multiple of these, right? Makes sense. So I guess what I could do is highlight that, do a QOT with hard ops, just to get that cube as a cutter. Pull that down, put that in something like that. Just gonna lower it very slightly. Apply. Mark all the sharp edges, and maybe not this though, and not this. Mark sharp. Let's undo. I don't want these to be sharp. Just double checking. Yep. Mark sharp. These should be sharp as well. Okay. Okay, I think that's fine. Just trying to make a cutter to make this thing. Cut there. Increase the length of this, or just slide it through. Move across. I think that's good. Let's apply. I'd say that's done. Let's just give that a generic concrete texture. And from a distance, I think that would be alright. My scale, let's name it concrete stop, maybe. It's a good name. Gonna apply this. Now I can place some of these as well. These are not colored though in my reference, so it's a bit harder to find. There's a bunch of them down there. Just double checking so I didn't miss some of these. I think that was it. Okay, I have been streaming for about 1.5 hours now. And I think I'm gonna stop. So I'll stream again tomorrow around the same time. More of the tunnels. I think I'll focus more tomorrow on making more of these indentations, making proper doors and stuff. So that's something I'm gonna have to try and find textures for before the stream, so I don't have to spend time on that. But yeah, so doors, elevator doors, detail like that. And I'm pretty sure now that I'm gonna have a isometric 3D view of the tunnels. Something like this probably. And this should be fine to navigate, right? As opposed to this. I mean, this is ideal, I think. But I think kind of defeats the purpose of doing this in 3D with a top-down view. So I'll probably do something like that. Yeah. That's what we'll do, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you again tomorrow around the same time, so 5 or 6 p.m. Central European time. I do have some stuff to do tomorrow though, so... No, I think it'll be okay. I should be here around that time.